friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to show you how to do the pike stitch. For this project, you're going to need some yarn. I'll be using this number 3, number 4 weight cotton yarn today. You'll also need a crochet hook. I'm going to use a 5.5mm hook. You'll also need some scissors, as well as a yarn needle to weave in your ends. So gather your supplies, and let's jump in. For this stitch, you need to work in odd numbers of stitches. So make your initial chain as long as you want, just make sure it's an odd number. I'm going to go ahead and start with a chain of 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 18, 19, 20, 21. There's my initial chain. At the end of your initial chain, however long you make it, add an additional 2 stitches. So my 21 chain is going to be a 22, a 23. So whatever your initial chain is, odd number of stitches, add 2 to that. Now, let's get into the first row. In the 5th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we're going to do a single crochet. Insert the hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook. And then we'll chain 1. We're going to skip the next chain, and then in the following chain after that, we're going to do another single crochet. Insert the hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next stitch. And I'm going to repeat that all the way across for row number 1. I'll see you when I get to the end of the row. Here I am coming up to the end of my first row. I did a chain 1, a skip 1, and now the last chain of the row is going to be a single crochet. Now, to begin row number 2, I'm going to start with a chain of 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll turn the work. Now I'm going to skip that single crochet and the first chain stitch, and then in the following single crochet, I'm going to put 1 single crochet. So that chain 3 represents a single crochet and a chain 1. And there's my single crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to skip over that chain 1 space, and then in the next single crochet, I'll put a single crochet. And then I'll chain 1, I'll skip the chain 1 space from the previous row, and then single crochet into the single crochet. Chain 1, single crochet into the single crochet. Chain 1, and single crochet into the single crochet. So we're just ignoring the chain 1s from the previous row. We're skipping over them, and we're just working into the single crochets. It's kind of like the opposite of the woven stitch. If you've ever done the moss stitch or the woven stitch, this is kind of like another variation. If you want to know how to do that one, check out the link up here. I'll show you that one as well. Here I am at the end of my second row. I'm going to do my final chain 1. I did a single crochet, chain 1. Now I'm going to skip the chain 1 space, and then in the next chain, because this is our turning chain, remember where we single crocheted into the 5th chain from the hook? Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got our single crochet. So we'll skip that next chain, and then in the chain after that right here, we'll put our final single crochet of the row. Just like that. And then we're going to chain 3 and turn. 1, 2, 3, and turn. So if we take a look at the stitch at this point, you can see we have single crochets on top of single crochets, and then we have chain 1 spaces on top of chain 1 spaces. So there's going to be this little gap between every other stitch. It's a little hard to tell at first. Let's do another row, and then we'll be able to see it a bit better. So we did our chain 3 and turn. We're going to skip that first single crochet. We're going to skip that first chain 1 space, and then in that next single crochet, we'll put a single crochet. Then chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, single crochet in the single crochet. And we'll chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the single crochet, and repeat that all the way across until we get to the end of the row. Here I am at the end of my row, and we're going to be doing what we did at the end of the last row. We'll finish with our single crochet, chain 1, then we're gonna skip the first chain, and in the following chain, this is from the chain 3 we turned the row with, the second chain, so we're skipping the next chain, and then the chain after that is where we'll put our last single crochet of the row. Just like that, followed by a chain of 3. 1, 2, and 3, and turn. Now I'm going to repeat that across, basically repeating row number 2 over and over again until I get to a square. Since I have 21 stitches in my row, I'm expecting to get to around 20 rows before I get to a square. So I'm just gonna zoom through a few and I'll come back here and show you what it's looking like. And we'll kind of discuss the uses for this and how the fabric actually starts to turn out. Here's what it's looking like after a few more rows. I'm actually really liking the texture it's giving. It's a little bit more interesting than just a straight single crochet across. It's got a little bit more of a stretchy, sort of airy texture. I think this could make a really cool garment. Maybe not in this cotton, but in some nice acrylic or wool. I feel like that could be a really cool texture for a garment. Those chain 1 spaces create just a little bit of extra air. All right, I'm gonna zoom through the rest. I'll be right back. All right, here's what my little square is looking like after 20 rows. You can see it's a little curly and a little bit wobbly. I'm going to finish here, so I'm going to cut my yarn. I'm gonna pull this last stitch through, and then I'm gonna take a second and I'm gonna put this underneath my iron just to sort of block it flat so that we can see the stitches a little bit more clearly. Be right back. All right, now, before we get into the final discussion, let me just take a second, thread up my yarn needle, and weave in these ends. Ta-da! And here it is, the pike stitch. How cute is that? I really like this. I feel like this gives just a little bit more interest than a basic single crochet, and it looks totally different than the woven stitch. So there's the woven stitch, sometimes called the moss stitch, and then the single crochet. Again, I'll link all of those up here. And this is kind of another variation on the same thing with a different texture. Like, look how light and airy that texture is. And look at how sweet that looks up close. You can see our single crochets stacked on top of each other, and they kind of tilt in opposite directions. So let me grab my yarn needle to show you what I'm talking about. You can see that we've got single crochets angled this way, single crochet angled this way, single crochet angled this way, single crochet angled this way. And that's just because when we're crocheting in one direction, it angles. And then when we're crocheting across the row the other way, it angles the opposite way. And it creates this very nice sort of airy texture. Do you see the little like extra spaces? You can kind of see my hand through it. That would make a really beautiful cardigan. How pretty is that? And because we did those odd numbers of stitches, we have a nice straight edge, which is lovely. Look, I love how you can see my fingers behind it. That's a very nice stitch. Now I'm excited to try and figure out what I'm going to incorporate this into. I do love the drape of it, the sort of breezy lightness this has. What do you think? Did you know about the pike stitch before this tutorial? What do you think you'll use it for? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to click the thumbs up button. It really helps the channel, and you're already here, so you might as well do it. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. We're right on the road to 100,000 subscribers, so I would love if you joined us for this journey. And check out the links in the description box down below. All the ways to support the channel will be listed there if you want to show your support, as well as all the related tutorials you'll need to figure this one out. Thank you to everyone who is supporting the channel. Here is the list of channel supporters. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being here. Anyways, friends, that's all I've got for you today. The pike stitch, a simple tutorial for a simple stitch. I'll see you next week. Bye!